Live from New Delhi, you're watching DT India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. US expresses concern to Israel about strikes against Lebanese Army. Global condemnations pour in following deadly terrorist attack in Ankara. Türkiye hits PKK targets in northern Iraq, Syria in response. Electioneering intensifies ahead of November 5 presidential poll. Trump leads Harris in latest poll surveys. Severe cyclonic storm Dana expected to make landfall over the Odisha West Bengal coast. High alert issued. And in cricket, India all-rounder Ravichandran Ashwin becomes the highest wicket-taker in the ICC World Test Championship during the second test against New Zealand. Updates from West Asia conflicts first. US has expressed concern to Israel about strikes against the Lebanese armed forces. US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, in a telephonic conversation with his Israeli counterpart Yoav Gallant, said that Washington had concerns about strikes against the Lebanese armed forces. Pentagon, in a statement, said that Austin asked Israel to take steps to ensure the safety and security of the Lebanese armed forces and the UN peacekeeping mission in Lebanon. Austin also told Israeli Defense Minister that Washington welcomed the movement of humanitarian assistance through the Erez crossing into northern Gaza and urged Israel to take steps to address the dire situation there. Israeli strikes pounded Beirut's southern suburbs on Wednesday, while Hezbollah said it fired precision-guided missiles for the first time at Israeli targets. The strikes on the edges of Beirut sent thick columns of flames shooting up into night sky one after the other, shortly after an Israeli military spokesman issued evacuation warnings for the neighborhood. Another strike hit the nearby office of a media house. Hezbollah has meanwhile said that it had escalated its attacks on Israel using precision missiles for the first time and launched new types of drones on Israeli targets. The group later said it had targeted an Israeli military factory on the outskirts of Tel Aviv. Around the time of Hezbollah's claim, air raid sirens sounded in Tel Aviv and neighboring cities. The intensifying exchanges of fire come as Washington makes a final major push for peace between Israel and Hezbollah and Hamas before the November 5th US presidential election. Leaders from around the world condemned a terrorist attack Wednesday targeting a defense industry facility in Turkey's capital, Ankara.
I do want to start by extending our thoughts to the victims of the horrible terrorist attack in Ankara, Turkey this morning. Our prayers are with all of those affected and their families, and of course also the people of Turkey at this very difficult time. Now, Turkish authorities, as they've said, are investigating this as a possible terrorist attack. And while we don't yet know the motive or who is exactly behind it, we strongly condemn this act of violence.
Russian President Vladimir Putin also condemned the attack on the sidelines of a BRICS group summit that Turkey President Erdogan was attending as a guest. Putin said Moscow condemns any manifestations of terrorism. French President Emmanuel Macron also condemned the Ankara terror attack in the strongest terms. Macron said his country stands in solidarity with Türkiye and the Turkish people against terrorism. Calling the terrorist attack horrific, German Chancellor also condemned all forms of terrorism in the strongest possible terms. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte also condemned the attack. In a social media post, Rutte said, "We strongly condemn terrorism in all its forms and are monitoring developments closely." He added, NATO stands with its allied nation Türkiye. European Union Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell also condemned terrorism in all forms in a post on X following the attack. He said the EU expresses solidarity with Türkiye in this difficult time. At least 5 people have been killed and 22 injured after an attack at a state-owned aerospace company near the Turkish capital Ankara. Turkish Interior Minister Ali Yerlikaya, he said both the attackers have been neutralized, adding that the attack had most likely involved Kurdish rebel groups, the PKK. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack.
When compared to previous similar attacks, we have a strong opinion that it is in the PKK terrorist organization. But as I said, it will become certain once the identities of the attackers are determined, which we will announce with you to the public, our saintly people.
Turkey has meanwhile hit outlawed Kurdistan Workers' Party PKK targets in northern Iraq and northern Syria after the Ankara attack. Sri Lanka police issued travel advisory for citizens visiting the Arugam Bay area following a rise in Israeli tourists and the occupation of a building there. Precautionary measures have been put in place at Arugam Bay in southern part of the island. In addition to the US Embassy, diplomatic missions of UK, New Zealand, Australia and Russia had also updated their travel advisory related to Sri Lanka. Meanwhile, National Security Council of Israel has called on Israelis to leave Sri Lanka, Arugam Bay area and other beaches in the island's south and west immediately, citing terrorism threats. Updates on US presidential polls now. Former President Donald Trump, the Republican presidential candidate, leads his Democratic rival Kamala Harris 47% to 45%. According to the latest Wall Street Journal polls, Trump and Harris are still virtually tied in the 7 key battleground states. Harris has a narrow lead in the blue wall states of Wisconsin, Michigan and Pennsylvania, as well as in Georgia. Trump is ahead in Arizona and North Carolina, while they are tied in Nevada. The poll surveyed 1,500 registered voters from October 19 to 22nd with a margin of error of plus or minus 2.5 percentage points. Also, a Financial Times poll survey showed Trump taking a lead with 44% versus 43% for Harris. With just less than 2 weeks left in the upcoming US presidential elections, former US President Donald Trump addressed a rally in Georgia while Kamala Harris called him fascist. While taking part in a town hall in Pennsylvania, Harris reacted to the claims made by Donald Trump's former Chief of Staff John Kelly in an interview that Trump is fascist and said people like John Kelly won't be there in second term.
And it is clear from John Kelly's words that Donald Trump is someone who, I quote, certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, who in fact vowed to be a dictator on day one and vowed to use the military as his personal militia to carry out his personal and political vendettas. Donald Trump is increasingly unhinged and unstable. And in a second term, people like John Kelly would not be there to be the guardrails against his propensities and his actions.
Trump is campaigning in Georgia, the crucial battleground state where he held 2 events, starting with a town hall. Trump criticized his Democratic rival Harris, wasteful expenditure from the government exchequer as part of her misplaced policies, saying there are 15 different elements of policy that she changed.
And as you know, there are 15 different elements of policy that she changed. She was in favor of sex changes for prisoners at their will, paid for by the government. And now she says, no, I don't think that would be a good idea. She was totally, I mean, when you talk about fracking, she had no fracking under, I mean, we have 25 commercials. Sometimes we put them on simultaneously. She's just, and now all of a sudden, I love fracking. I think it's wonderful.
In Sri Lanka, distribution of postal polling cards for the parliamentary elections scheduled for November 14 commenced on Wednesday at district secretariats across the country. The Election Commission has announced that postal polling cards will be issued to about 7.3 lakh eligible voters. This marks an increase of approximately 23,000 postal voters compared to the previous presidential election. Marking of postal ballots will take place on October 30th, November 1st and November 4th. In Bangladesh, the interim government led by Muhammad Yunus has banned Awami League student organization, Bangladesh Chhatra League. And the Ministry of Home Affairs has issued a gazette notification in this regard on Wednesday amid the demand raised by student movement against discrimination that spearheaded the movement against Bangladesh former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. According to the notification, over the past 15 years under the Awami League government, Chhatra League has been involved in various activities that disrupt public safety, including murder, rape, harassment in student dormitories and tender manipulation. Bangladesh Chhatra League was protesting against surge in rape and harassment of women for some days. Awami League leader Bahauddin Naseem condemned the interim government, saying that the ban on BCL is an attack on the spirit of liberation war and the constitution of Bangladesh. Crew 8 astronauts undocked in a SpaceX Dragon spacecraft from the International Space Station on Wednesday. The spacecraft carrying NASA astronauts undocked at 9:05 GMT and is expected splashdown off the coast of Florida in approximately 34 hours on Friday. The undocking had been delayed for 2 weeks due to bad weather conditions caused by Hurricane Milton. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Nirmala Sitharaman says India to retain restrictions on Chinese foreign direct investment. German Chancellor Scholz will be visiting India on Thursday for intergovernmental consultations. World Polio Day being observed today. We will take you through India's efforts in eradicating the disease from the country.
This is a special episode where we are taking stock of India's relations with a very important part of its extended neighborhood, which is Central Asia.
Friendly ties of Uzbekistan and India is historically roots going back thousands of years.
As I'm from Kazakhstan, I can say we have strong relations, economic relations with India.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that irrespective of Tuesday's agreement on India-China border tensions and the top-level bilateral meet in Russia, restrictions on Chinese investments in India will continue. She said that India cannot ignore the sources of investments because of security reasons. Speaking at an event at the Wharton School, she underscored that India's regional sensitivities necessitate caution in accepting FDI. She said, we need to ensure proper security as we live in a neighborhood that is sensitive. The Indian Finance Minister made it clear that the government will continue to maintain strict checks on foreign direct investment in the national interest. Asserting that 1 in every 6 people in the world is an Indian, she said that no country, whether the US or China, can ignore New Delhi today. She made the remarks at a panel discussion organized by the Center for Global Development in Washington, D.C.
Is not to impose its dominance. In the sense we are the biggest democracy, we have in the world the largest population, but to enhance its influence. And you just cannot ignore our economy and the way in which it is growing. So you really can't ignore. And also the geopolitical neighborhood in which we live. No country, the US, which is very far away from us, or China, which is very close to us, cannot ignore us.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz will be visiting India at the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Thursday. The German Chancellor, along with PM Narendra Modi, will co-chair the 7th intergovernmental consultations on October 25th. The two leaders will also hold bilateral talks to discuss enhanced security and defense cooperation, greater opportunities for the mobility of talent, deeper economic cooperation, green and sustainable development partnership, and collaboration in the area of emerging and strategic technologies. Discussions will also focus on important regional and global developments. Both leaders will also address the 18th Asia-Pacific Conference of German Business being held in New Delhi on October 25th. Chancellor Scholz has visited India twice last year for a bilateral state visit in February 2023 and to attend the G20 Leaders Summit in September 2023. India and Germany have a strategic partnership since 2000. The two countries are celebrating 50 years of science and technology collaboration this year. The Indian Army is set to host the second edition of its flagship international seminar, the Chanakya Defence Dialogue, on October 24 and 25th at the Manekshaw Centre in New Delhi. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will attend the event later in the day. Themed Drivers in Nation Building, Fueling Growth Through Comprehensive Security. This high-profile event will facilitate vital discussions on integrating security dynamics within national and international policymaking and aims to craft visionary strategies for sustainable and inclusive growth. The two-day event will bring together an exceptional group of policymakers, strategic thinkers, academics, defense personnel, veterans, scientists and SMEs from India and abroad, with prominent speakers from the United States, Russia, Israel and Sri Lanka. The dialogue will explore India's strategic pathways towards Viksit Bharat at 2047, focusing on the role of comprehensive security in national development. The Chanakya Defence Dialogue will consist of 6 expert-led sessions, each focusing on critical aspects of comprehensive security. Everyone loves a great superhero story. But today's heroes aren't wearing caps. They are innovating for a better planet. Meet Kalishi, an Indian startup at the forefront of technology in the energy and sustainability sectors. Kalishi is breaking new ground, combining expertise in energy, biotechnology and artificial intelligence to create cutting-edge technologies that are either carbon neutral or net carbon negative. With an impressive 15 patents filed, Kalishi is leading the charge towards a sustainable future. DD correspondent Tapas Bhattacharya with Kalishi's CEO Amit Priyadarshan on the technologies changing the game.
India has pledged to get net zero by 2070. In fact, they have made sure that by 2030, most of its, in fact, more than 50% of its energy requirement comes from the renewable resources. Now, how is that going to be a possibility? Well, I have with me Kalishi's CEO, Mr. Amit Priyadarshan. He has come up with a new solution, which is expected to be a game changer for a country like India, where greenhouse emissions, especially carbon emission, is a major issue. How's that going to solve India's issue?
We have developed a technology by which we reduce the carbon content from the smoke that comes out of chimneys. And those chimneys can be from any industry, but we are particularly targeting 3 industries, that is thermal power plant, refineries and steel sector. So we take the flue gas through our reactors, and in those reactors we convert the carbon content from the flue gas to useful chemicals, and these chemicals can be used in agriculture, in aquaculture and also in nutraceutical industry. So a lot of potential for there.
Where do you guys are setting up your plant? What are the things that you guys are doing to go further and make it put these things into perspective in the next few years?
We have already deployed at 6 places. We have more deployments coming up, larger and larger every day. And we have got a lot of repeat orders. I would like to take you through our journey of scaling up. So we started with a 500 ml reactor in the lab. This is the lab scale setup. Slowly we've moved to a 5 liter one, 500 liter one, 5,000. And now you'll be surprised that we are coming up with a 20 lakh liter reactor. Right. So that's probably the largest photobioreactor in the country. And the technology itself has evolved. We have evolved as a company. A lot of things happening.
A lot of things happening. You guys have shit sure in other countries also. India is not just one country. You have gone beyond the shore of the country.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we have also moved to UAE. We have moved to set up bases in Australia. So we are currently present in 3 countries. We are trying to build as many projects as we can, and we are trying to have our footprint, just goodwill, giving our technology everywhere that we can go, whoever is asking for it.
And the point is that in the world, carbon sequestration is a huge issue, and with the world moving towards a net neutrality in the decades to come, technologies by Amit Pradarshani will play a pivotal role in meeting the energy demand and at the same time giving India and the world a greener tomorrow. With camera person Ajit, this is Tapash Bhattacharya for DD India from Delhi.
Severe cyclonic storm Dana is expected to make landfall over the Odisha West Bengal coast between October 24 and 25. As per the Indian Meteorological Department, the cyclonic storm has intensified into a severe cyclonic storm over the central and adjoining northwest Bay of Bengal. All schools in the coastal districts of Odisha and West Bengal have been shut, and the states have also started the evacuation process from coastal districts that are likely to bear the brunt of the cyclone. National Disaster Response Force teams and military rescue units are on standby in coastal areas of the two states to tackle the potential cyclone impact. Flight operations at the airports in Kolkata and Bhubaneswar will be suspended from Thursday evening as a precautionary measure ahead of Cyclone Dana. On to sports now. Ravichandran Ashwin has provided India with their second wicket of the day as he becomes the highest wicket taker in the ICC World Test Championship. Ashwin dismissed Will Young just for 18. Devon Conway has now been joined by Rachin Ravindra as 2 down. New Zealand scored 92 for 2 at lunch. Meanwhile, Indian bowlers are aiming for some quick wickets in the early stages of the match. Earlier, New Zealand skipper Tom Latham won the toss and opted to bat against India in the second test in Pune. Trailing 0-1 in the series, India have included Shubman Gill, Akash Deep and Washington Sundar in their playing 11, replacing KL Rahul, Mohammad Siraj and Kuldeep Yadav. India has made a strong footing across the world for the medical advancements and elimination of vaccine-preventable diseases, eradication of polio being the most prominent one. World Polio Day is observed every year on 24th of October. In the report ahead, Preeti Kaur puts forth the strenuous efforts made in the country to successfully eradicate polio. Let's take a look.
Every year on 24th of October, we observe World Polio Day to raise awareness on the importance of polio vaccination to protect every child from this devastating disease and to celebrate the efforts of parents, professionals and volunteers whose contributions made polio eradication achievable. Poliomyelitis is a highly infectious viral disease that largely affects children under 5 years of age. The highly transmissible virus invades the nervous system to cause paralysis. India has made significant strides in its mission to eliminate vaccine-preventable diseases, of which polio eradication stands out. India completes a decade of being polio-free, marking a significant milestone in healthcare in the country. India reported the last case of wild polio virus from West Bengal's Howrah district in January 2011. After 3 years of maintaining the polio-free status, the World Health Organization on March 27, 2014 officially certified India as polio-free. India was once deemed the most difficult country in the world to end polio. Strong support from the Indian government, coupled with a new global push to eradicate the disease in the late 1980s, marked a turning point. Soon after, the vaccination campaigns led by millions of dedicated vaccinators and community mobilizers helped in easy accessibility of the vaccines to nearly every child in the country. Pulse Polio campaign with the slogan, "Do Boon Zindagi Ki," proved to be a game changer. The main weapon in this fight comprised of a two-pronged approach: extensive vaccination campaigns to ensure that every child under 5 years received the polio vaccine, and a surveillance system under the National Polio Surveillance Project kept a check on any potential polio cases. From booth activities to house-to-house visits, mobile teams were introduced at major transit points. These efforts have helped India achieve and maintain its polio-free status so far. As we celebrate the 10th anniversary of India's polio-free certification, this remarkable journey serves as a beacon of hope in the ongoing global fight to eradicate polio. Preeti Kaur, DD India.
That's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.